Thank you once again for another session. Time far spent, so we will proceed with a lot of speed. Next on the order paper is presentation from Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, YLP. They've developed an app as part of a project under the ministry, like I said before, as part of YLP's contribution to the free SHS policy to enhance learning amongst the young people currently in overcrowded classrooms. Infrastructure is the same, but the numbers have increased, and therefore teacher-to-student ratio has fallen. Honorable Ebenezer Boateng and the team, can you come forward?
Good afternoon, House. On behalf of the Ministry of Environment, Science and Technology, and in collaboration with Ministry of Education, we are here to present an app which was specifically made for SHS schools. So the basics of this app is specifically to allow students, SHS students, to have the platform to interchat, go online, make research, watch video tutorials on courses and syllables as well, and then also get questions answered based on their syllables. So currently the app is ongoing and we are still working on it, but we are on the final stage of the app now. So we would want to make a review so honorable members could see.
Good afternoon, House. My name is Nana Kwesiafo, and I'm the senior software developer for the team. We are building an app called Orbits, and it's meant to help SHS students with their various courses that they are doing. The app is meant to be a platform where every student can have access to and communicate with each other in order to help themselves out in their academic term. The app comprises of a chat forum where every student can go there and chat. You register as a member of the platform and you are able to chat with anybody around the country in any school. It's specifically built in steps where each student can communicate on a national level or district level or independently in each school. Each school has their platform, as the district also have their platform, and the nation has its platform. Depending on where you choose to communicate, you get specific people to talk with. Each platform you go there, you are specifically allowed to have tutorials being done by teachers for your specific course you do. So based on the course you do, you can go there and learn from teachers who have made video tutorials on it. Okay. The app, we talked about the app, and the app is being built on all platforms, being it a mobile phone, a website, and a desktop application as well. Therefore, you can access the application on any device. You don't specifically have to be on the web to access the application. You can access it from your phone, from a computer without accessing the browser. It has its own application that you can access from the computer without accessing the browser. And we have the browser interface. And we are going to present the browser interface today. Okay. This is the homepage of Orbit. And it's meant for, it's where you end up when you first enter into the web-based application. Okay. You are allowed to register over here. You are allowed to log in over here. Right now, you are able to only access the application as a member, so you would have to log in order to have access to the application. You have to sign up. We have the sign-up steps for each and every student to sign up in order to have access to the platform. Each student is required to choose a school in which he or she resides in. Okay. The app is smart enough to know the kind of schools to give to each student depending on the design on it as right now. We are trying to optimize it for faster access to it. Okay. It's divided into two, and it's divided into three, and two of the sections is on a different server from where this is located. So in order for you to access the website, you'd have to go through multiple channels. So we are trying our best to optimize the interface in order to have a good, in order for you to have a feel of the application, easy access for the application. Okay. This is the student's registration form. A student is required to enter his details, including his gender, the username, and a specific password. A student will enter his or her email, and the email would be confirmed. Next one. Next one. A student is also required to give his or her guardian's details as prior to registration on the platform. There is a section on the platform that allows the students to take examination, test online. It's not compulsory for a student to take a test online, but as you learn, you can also take tests there to know you understand what you've done. For parents to get their parents, and for teachers to get their students into the application, we added this section to the application whereby when a student finishes a particular course and takes a test on that course, a review of what was done here is sent to his or her guardian in order for his or her guardian to know that the student is not just wasting time online doing anything at all, but is actually learning and is benefiting from what he's learning. Progress reports are sent to students' guardians for them to know how the student is on the platform, how the student is learning, what's actually going on over there. Right now, we are building a tutorial interface where teachers will actually be there to teach a student, post it over there for a student to watch. Then, if the student has any questions on what is being posted there, he asked that question. And that place is still under development because we are having a challenge with teachers who is going to help us with those video tutorials. So we've not been able to develop that place. So that is one of the challenges we are meeting over here. It's, as you already know, I told you it's divided into three. So we actually need three sets of systems to run this application as it's going to be on the internet. That is also one challenge that we are having right now. Resources, we lack a bit of resources, being a network and machines to run all the simulations on. We would like to show you how the website actually looks besides the pictures you've seen over here and have a feel of it. If anyone would like to log in or register, see how it works. Okay, so as you already know, we said it's a web-based application, so it's being accessed from a browser, as you can see there. When you log into the system, you are first taken to the home page, which we showed you earlier. Since this is built locally, we don't have a URL name for it yet. The URL name will be given when it's sent online. Okay. So right now, it's being launched locally on my machine. It's not yet on the internet. So we access it via my machine name, which is specified over there. As I already told you, when you first enter the application, the home page, you are being taken directly to the home page, where you are required to either log in or register. If you are already an existing user, you just click on login, and you are redirected to the login form over there. You can log in as a registered user over here, or if you are not a registered user, you can register as a user from this form. Okay. To save data, because data is expensive in this country, what we did is this particular page runs behind the scene. The whole page is not loaded for you to go to the next stage. Okay. So to save data, we just load the portion of the data that you would need in order to continue your registration. So if I'm to enter details over here, what you realize is you will never leave this page when you click create. You stay on this page and it will still take you to another form that you would need to enter. Username already exists. The whole page never reloaded. The only part that changed was the part that needed new entries, which is the part where you are entering your data. In order to save bundle, when the whole page reloads, that means your system needs to download everything from the server again. But when just the portion of the place you need reloads, that means just that portion is going to be downloaded from the server again. So in that case, we only gave the reload portion to where you are entering your data. Your whole system does not reload. It has an inbuilt database behind it, which stores the data of every single registered user and every single message. If you take a look at what is down there, you'd realize there is only one entry into it. This is where everything you enter into the system is actually being saved. Okay. Nothing that you enter into the system is saved on your computer. Everything you enter into the system is actually saved on a different thing, which I am accessing from the machine behind you. That is where all these data being saved are being withdrawn from. And if you don't have your data here, you don't have access to the system. Okay. All your data are being saved over here. And for security reasons, everything you typed will be encrypted so that nobody having access to the database can look through your information and use your credentials for anything. We actually encrypt your details, and your privacy is protected at our end. No one has access to your details, even if the system is hacked, because everything is encrypted in the database for you. So your email is secured, your password is secured. It doesn't matter if you add your parents' work email to the system. It is secured because it's encrypted. And even if someone hacks into the system and gets access to the database, all the person can see is a bunch of random numbers and alphabets, including symbols. Your actual data is being protected by the system, and the system is the only thing that has access to the actual data being saved. So with security, you don't mind. You can put in any email you want, being in your parents' work email, because there is no way it's going to be leaked for someone to hack your parents' email. It's protected over here. And from our section 2, if someone gets to the machine and tries to view it, he's also going to see the same gibberish, which is alphanumeric content of whatever you typed in there. Only the system understands what is being typed in there. So your system is secured. Prior to this web-based application, we are also trying to develop a desktop application for the system as well. We are also trying to build a desktop application which is accessed without a browser. You can install it on your PC just like you install any other software and still have access to the same features that are on the website. So without a browser, you can still have access to it. And the download the downloadable link will still be on the website for you to download it if you're in need of it.
Honorable members, to add to what my learned colleague here said about the whole application, especially the tutorial part, and then also where the online test as well. About what he said, we are actually facing challenges when working with the teachers. So as at now, the page is there, but there is no information on it. So what we are doing now is we are still furnishing it with graphics and other back-end code as well. So until that is done, then the teachers will come in, and then we will also shoot video tutorials and then upload it on the website. And also, God willing, hopefully, we'll get our server and then we'll host it online. So that is what we are actually working on.
Thank you very much.
Please, questions may hold on. We are yet to show you some small parts. Then we will end with the graphics, and then you come in with your questions.
Thank you. I think before, whilst you're trying to figure out the technical hitch there, let me put a little bit of flesh on what they've just said so that you can understand what this app is meant to really serve. The concept idea is something that I developed, and then I called these IT guys within the science and technology, and I shared the idea with them, and they said, yes, it's possible, it's practical, we can work on it. Now, the idea is that when you have so many students in the class, concentration drops. And sometimes when the teacher communicates, some of the students will miss out. Now, the platform is to allow the teacher to load information onto the platform. So it could be either a document or a video of a particular topic that was taught in a class. So the teacher can load it up there. Now, once it's on there, any student across the country can access that teaching, can access that tutorial on that particular topic. It is also to allow schools to communicate. So Accra students, so they will have they will have tabs for the various schools. So you have St. Mary's, Accra, Fantipim, etc. tabs on there. Now, once you click on Accra Academy, it opens a page on its own. So you can enter Accra Academy on the app. And within their platform, every activity that goes on in, say, Accra or St. Mary's, they have posted it there. So if it's games, if it's pictures of local activities on campus, the SRCs will be the admin of their page. So they can load their pictures there. So you could be sitting at home and say, oh, well, I'm a bit bored. Let me go and see what Kumasi SecTech guys have been up to last week. And when you go there, you find information on everything they've been doing because they've put it there. Okay. So that is how these schools are meant to interact. Now, the other bit is that I remember back in school, there was a surge of extra classes. After after vacation, every child wants to go for extra class. Now, this app is actually meant to give an e-version of that. So things like key topics or subjects like maths and sciences, there will be a lot of tutorial materials there that you don't need to even go to any class, but you can learn from the page, okay? On the app also, I have suggested that it should allow schools to set up meetings, programs, and activities. So let's say Prempe can request to have games with the other schools, any of the schools on the page, or have a competition, maths competition, or any test on the page, and they'll score themselves on that. So this is how we intend to create a platform where students can enhance, interact academically. Teachers populating the platform with teaching materials, videos. The teacher can just do FaceTime and do a recording of read a script or a pamphlet, and then post the video there. You're sitting in the comfort of your car, you plug it in, and you are listening to what the teacher, is running through on that subject. So that is a little bit of fleshing up that I want to do. You can continue if you're ready. Thank you.
In addition, you already know there is a desktop application ongoing. And this is a sample of the desktop application that we are trying to build. Okay. This is actually the login page where a student will log into the application. When he installs this application and is already a member of the platform, okay, you just download this application, you install it, and you would have access to everything someone is having access to on his browser as well. Okay. We would also be trying to develop, we will also try and develop, in addition, mobile applications, whereby you'll be on your mobile phone and you also have access to this same technology we are building. The application will be cross-platform in such a situation that whether you're on a phone, a desktop, or on a browser, you are all having the same piece of information. When I send a message from a browser, regardless of which of the platforms you are on, you still get that information as well. Okay. And it will be a real-time application, which means as I send the message, you get that message instantly. Okay. It's not working like an email. It's working like our everyday WhatsApp that we use. Okay. You actually get access to that information in real time. That same moment your information is being sent. Okay. The major challenge we are still facing is teachers. We need teachers to help us with both the tutorial part and the test part. We need teachers in their various fields to help out with those tutorials and those tests that will be placed on the platform for the students to use. As of now, the information I got from this Ministry of Education is we only have one teacher. And that's not enough. We need teachers from each and every field for them to help us develop a tuition part and also a test part that the students are going to use. Okay. We also need some teachers to be admins of the platform. Questions will be posted there by students. They'll watch tutorials which they still have questions on. They are allowed to post those questions on the platform. Therefore, we need teachers who are qualified to answer those questions for them in order for them to get the understanding they came there for. So our major challenge is teachers. We like the teachers to help us develop this application.
Honorable members, as we are wrapping up, I'll take this opportunity to plead to the House. If there are any members here who are willing to help willingly with the teaching part and the tutorial part, please, after this, you let us know. Because as at now, the page itself is done. It's only left with the design and then the teachers. Without the teachers, this app cannot be successful. So all what we are pleading is the teachers. It is voluntary. We are pleading with you. So I think we are done, and then we can wrap up. If you have any questions, Mr. Speaker can handle that, and then we would also answer that.
Thank you very much, the IT team. I think you can take your seats. Thank you very much. Yes. Okay. I will. I'll open the floor for questions from honorable member with a burgundy tie.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and the House. I'd like to commend the Honorable Minister or the Honorable Member for the beautiful app or stroke website. But among the problems they said they were facing, he didn't mention the problem of students not allowed to use mobile phones in our senior high schools. If students are not allowed to use mobile phones, how can they make good use of the software? Also, when you go to some schools, there are no access to internet. Students can't access internet. Even if they don't have mobile phones, their libraries or some even don't have computers. Talking of internet. So it means that some will be deprived while the others will benefit from this beautiful software. Even if students are allowed to use phones, then they may be day students, not boarding students. You see, day students can now access better education compared to boarding students who are not allowed to use mobile phones. Thank you, Mr. Speaker and House.
Okay. Honorable Member, thank you for your question. Answering your first question, in regards with your question with access to mobile phones in schools, right? That is why we first mentioned that that is why we are not making it only an Android or an iOS-based application. This is a cross-platform application that will enable each and every student that has access to any electronic device that can have internet access. So with the chatting part or with the application itself, whether you are in school or you are in the house, when you are in the house, you can have your mobile phones. You can use your mobile phones to access it. And when you are in the schools too, now this is a web application. So if how do we call it? ICT teachers can also allow students to also come into the library, ICT lab to have access to it. Because this is an educational app, and there is no way they are going to use it to play. And that is why we are also going to assign each school to have an admin, so they could monitor each and every chat the students make.
This app is meant to be launched in partnership with schools. Now, in the interim, students can access it in their ICT labs, centers. Going forward, I think that the idea of not allowing students to use mobile phones is not sustainable. After a while, I mean, some ministers have even made submissions on that issue, that students should be allowed, not in the classroom, but when they, after class, they are in their dormitories, etc. There's a recent incident where, a student could not even communicate with the parents when she was ill because she didn't have access to a mobile phone. Okay. Point of information, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much in the House. On this same issue, I just wanted to provide information before we cover it up. With the issue relating to students not being allowed to use mobile phone, there's official petition or request before Parliament of Republic of Ghana from Ghana Education Service. It is through Ghana Education Service from citizens of this country requesting that Parliament should look at it and come out with a sort of rules or maybe a kind of law directing, GES to allow students to use mobile phones in school. So I think as a house, this will be a great opportunity for us if we are able to attach this app that we have developed and together with a petition of a sort to support what is already before the desk of the Speaker of Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. I think it will add more flesh to the request and the push for them to allow secondary school students to use mobile phone. That is the information I wanted to. Thank you.
Thank you, Majority Leader. Okay. Honorable, yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. As part of the challenges that the able men face during the preparation of this app or software or website has to do with getting teachers. They just made a statement that they are having difficulties getting teachers. So I would like to find out the steps that they've taken to get teachers and the bottlenecks that they are facing so that we will be able to have a plug-in principle there to see how best we could help. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. That is the last question on this particular presentation. Time is fast spent. I want us to look at the next motion quickly before we decide on anything else. Okay.
Okay. Honorable Member, with regards to your question, efforts have been made trying to get teachers through the Minister of Education, which is Honorable Paul Drabson, and the Deputy Minister as well. We've been in contact with them ever since this whole idea started, right from Mr. Speaker's. We've been having meetings, phone calls and other stuff, but yet still, we only had one honorable member who was willing to voluntarily come and be in aid of the teaching and then the tutorial part. I don't know, but if honorable members can clearly recall, one miss posted a request on the main YLP platform that teachers are needed. And out of that, we had only one member who was willing, only one. Up till now, we haven't had any information from them again. So yes, so we are on with Honorable Paul Drabson and the deputy to find teachers. So what came into mind was to go outside and then find teachers who could also be of help. But it all comes down to cost. Because if you go outside right now to find a teacher who would voluntarily help, no one is going to do that unless you pay them. So if honorable members are here and you can voluntarily do that or maybe assist of financial or anything, this whole app will be great.
I think you can take your seats now. And Clerk's office, I want us to proceed to the next motion.
The second motion, that free senior high school policy as implemented by government without clear sources of funding is not sustainable. I repeat, that free senior high school policy, as implemented by government without clear sources of funding, is not sustainable. Thank you.
Okay. Clerks, I need the leaders of the caucus so we can commence the debate. Okay, whilst we are waiting for the leaders of the House, Deputy Majority Leader, we will proceed with you whilst you submit the motion to the House, and then we can commence with the debate.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker and Honorable Members hearing gathered today. As stipulated by the motion tabled before us, that free SHS is not sustainable without clear sources of funding. Now, Right Honorable Speaker, it is stipulated in Article 25 of the 1992 Constitution of the Republic of Ghana that progressively senior high school education should be free. It put it in the right context of education in general. So we all know that under His Excellency President Kufuor's administration, he implemented the free basic school education. Then it came to the free compulsory basic school education, that's the FQ. And right now, in 2016, President Akufo-Addo also implemented the free SHS policy. Mr. Speaker, from what we've gathered as the majority caucus, most of these policies that they implemented was based on funds that are generated from the petroleum resources we have in this country. And that's known as the heritage funds. Mr. Speaker, the government, the three phases of government, that's the Minister of Finance, we have the President, they've all given three different sources of revenue that we can use to fuel this free SHS. Mr. Speaker, taking a quotation from Abna Osei Asari.
There's point of order.
Point of correction.
The correction, okay.
Mr. Speaker, as we speak now, there is either the government, either the parliament, there is nowhere, stated nowhere, that here is where we are taking the free SHS money from. So as the Honorable said, he said from their sources, from the Heritage Fund. It was something said by Honorable Yao Osafo-Maafo. He just said it from his own perspective. And then there is no evidence.
There's no government policy
Yes,
statement.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. Speaker,
Noted.
Mr. Speaker, before we come here to make submissions, we do make research. And out of this research we gathered it not from just one sources or two sources, but from numerous sources.
Honorable, you didn't say that you
I think the Speaker...
Let me give you the floor before you speak.
I'm very sorry.
Okay, please take your seat for a moment.
Mr. Speaker, from the sources we gathered...
Honorable, I would like you to make, if you have any reference
all right,
to that.
So from GhanaWeb.com, sure, GhanaWeb.com, you can check out, you can type petroleum resources as funds for free SHS, and you get some of these details. And they even stipulated that the total...
Is it a government policy statement or it's statement from a minister?
It is a statement from the Minister,
Okay.
Minister of Finance.
Okay, you proceed.
All right.
Proceed. I think we'll come back to where the issue is. Proceed.
Sure. So, Mr. Speaker, we of the majority caucus, we are saying that no, because the sources of funding is not yet clear. I wanted to even make a point to buttress what I'm saying, that there have been 3 different people speaking on the sources of funding for the free SHS. First of all, the president stipulated it in one of his key addresses that we have sources of funding sorted for the first 4 years. And after that, they have to attend to different ways of finding it. And that's what I wanted to bring in. Abena Osei Asare also stated that there is no sustainable source of funding for the free SHS for this period that we are in. And also, the Minister of Finance, that's Honorable Ken Oforiatta, on March 2nd, 2017, appeared that the proceeds from the country's oil resources may be used to roll out the free SHS policy. So based on these 3 different dimensions I'm giving here today, it shows that there's not a stipulated area that we are gathering all the resources to fund the free SHS. So that's why we are saying that that free SHS policy, as implemented by the government without clear sources of funding, is not sustainable. Mr. Speaker, let's even take, for instance, that they are considering that we are going to use proceeds that is generated from the oil revenue to fund the free SHS policy. Now, free SHS policy is not a policy that can end soon, but oil resources are not properties or are not forever, in the sense that they depreciate as time goes on. A time will come that Ghana in itself will not be having oil revenue again. Mr. Speaker, even let's take from the perspective of the oil. We always generate about total petroleum revenue of about US dollars 3.2 billion. Yeah, 3.2 billion, that's what I have here. About 3.2 billion, and out of this, it makes up just 4% of the total GDP we have in Ghana here, which shows that it is a very, very, very minimal funds, and it cannot sustain the free SHS policy. So we of the majority caucus, we are saying that if the government, in other words, if the president and the ministers of finance are not having any clear source of funding, then we have no other alternative than to put it that free SHS is not sustainable as time goes on in Ghana. So we would open the floor for debate as honorable members who also air their views concerning this parliamentary motion. Thank you very much.
Take the next submission. I think I'll have to let honorable members on my left. I think someone is touched that cable, or just be mindful of, because that's why all your lights are flashing. There's a technical hitch there. Okay. Let's hear from minority. Deputy Minority Leader. Why don't you change your microphone? If you could go to the other one.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, once again, for the opportunity given unto me. Mr. Speaker, the House, I believe strongly that the issue of free SHS is certainly an issue which is of major concern to a lot of Ghanaians. And for that matter, we as the Minority Caucus of Youth Leadership Parliament also find it as equally important as any other Ghanaian may also find it important. Mr. Speaker, I believe strongly that earlier on, the minority leader did indicate that one of the things that we seek to achieve as Youth Leadership Parliament is to speak the truth, which at the end of the day will be for the betterment of the development of our dear nation, Ghana. What this means is that we do not have to come and sit here and condemn a policy for the sake of condemnation if that policy is worth commending. On the basis of this, Mr. Speaker, the House, we want to say that, first of all, the free SHS policy as implemented by the current government, which began during the 2017-2018 academic year, indeed is a policy which is good and commendable. But in as much as it is good and commendable, we also believe that there are a number of fundamental issues to look at, especially when it comes to the sustainability of the policy. Mr. Speaker, the House, one of the major concerns we should be looking at as a House is that we believe strongly that the time has come that as a nation, we need to begin to look at how best we can come up with comprehensive national development plans when it comes to certain major sectors of our economy, so that irrespective of which government is in power, those policies will be pursued for the betterment of this country. Mr. Speaker, let me take all of us back to a couple of years ago when His Excellency former President Kufuor was President of the Republic of Ghana. SHS in this country was changed from 3 years to 4 years because they did indicate that it was contained in their manifesto that once they came into power, they were going to amend the number of years that students had to spend in secondary schools. Fortunately or unfortunately, when the government of former President Kufuor, His Excellency, left power, and our late President Mills and his government took the leadership of this country, senior high school was reduced from 4 years to 3 years. Mr. Speaker, this tells me clearly that we are joking with certain major sectors of our economy. Mr. Speaker, the House, some of us, by the grace of God, have been privileged to have the opportunity to study abroad. And I can say emphatically that on no occasion has the number of years one has to spend in school changed simply because there has been a change in government. I stand to be corrected. But the information that I have available is that I'm not aware so far in developed economies where the number of years one has to spend in school has changed simply because a new government has taken power. This tells you and I that we do not have a comprehensive national development plan, and we need to begin to think of how best as Youth Leadership Parliament we can begin to come up with initiatives that will also empower and also encourage our governments to be able to come up with comprehensive national development plans concerning certain major sectors of our economy, most especially when it comes to sectors like education. Mr. Speaker, having said this, I will come to the sustainability of senior high school education. Number one.
Honorable, I think let's have an introduction to the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Yes.
So, Mr. Speaker, in bringing the introduction to an end, I want to state once again that in as much as we believe that the senior high school education is a good initiative that deserves to be pursued, there are still other issues which needs to be looked at critically when it comes to its sustainability. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I will take my seat so that honorable members would have the opportunity to contribute what their opinions are so far as this subject matter is concerned. Thank you very much.
Okay. Honorable members, I would like to remind us, in treating this subject or debating this motion on the floor of our very august house. It's a house of records, it's a powerhouse of knowledge, and therefore, for every serious comment that we make in terms of arrogating a certain policy statement to a government, let's have reference to back that up. In 2008, the current NPP government proposed the free senior high school education. It was one of the flagship policy in their manifesto, and they stayed true to their campaign promise, and the Ghanaians on that basis voted for them, and they are in power. Just recently, I think around 12th of September 2017, they launched the free senior high school, and the policy seeks to achieve certain objectives. Now, one of the key objectives of the free senior high school is to increase access to senior higher education, okay, to increase access to senior education, and also to foot all the educational bills, which includes feeding, tuition fees, and other charges that was supposed to be part of making the senior high school free. And I want us to bear all these in mind as part of the objective of the free senior high school. Now, honorable members, counting and fast forwarding to today, as the policy has been launched and it's running, ongoing, a lot of parents, I believe most of us have junior siblings who are benefiting from this senior high school. What are the major challenges that this policy is facing? I want us to look at the challenges that this policy is facing, and then possibly these challenges will determine whether the sustainability aspect of it will come in. Okay, so when you're making a submission, let's treat that. The major challenges, the free senior high school. Honorable Asama Humvila.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the funding of this free education issue is a big issue. We don't have to play with it. Because when you live with your father in the house, and then you don't know where your father gets his money from, and then when he buys things for you, you enjoy. When he buy house, you go, you stay in the house and you enjoy. You keep enjoying, you keep enjoying. At the end of the day, you end up in a situation whereby your father might be stealing the money, or whereby your father might be taking the money from a source that you wouldn't like it. And then the repercussion may be very poor. And then that is what we are talking about. Free education is a very good policy. We all support it. We are ready to support it. But we wouldn't let the government skew us on where it's taking its funds from. The government will tell us that today, now we are having 3 conflict statements about where we are getting the money from. And then this is a government of intellectuals. And then here is the case whereby intellectuals are trying to conflict. No, there is a tendency of it determining the sustainability of the free education. But that is not the anchor where we can say that, yes, free education could not be sustained because of this problem and this problem. Because it's a new policy, and then the problems that are coming up are all problems that we would have to build upon them. But these are major problems that, if we don't take care, would not only dent the education system of Ghana, but it could also dent the progress of the whole nation, not only the education system. Because education, it is the major factor of every nation. Mr. Speaker, this free education, the students in the free education, the government said it has paid.
So you are still on the major challenges.
Yes, and I'm just there.
And you've talked about funding. I want your direction to be on that subject. What are the challenges facing the free senior high
Mr.
school?
Speaker, there are challenges. Indeed, there are challenges. Like currently, the students in the school, they are facing many challenges. And it is because of the free education. There's some students will tell you that they are in school, and then they due to congestion and stuffs, they are not able to get places to sleep. And it's because of the free SHS. Their parents are beginning to think that free SHS has come, so they wouldn't have to live with any burden of sending their kids, and then they don't think of anything because they know that the government is taking care of their kids. And then when you put such mind in the parents, they relax. And then the government is at cost. So now there are many challenges that is coming with the free SHS. So to me, And then to my constituents, free SHS is very good, but the government should do something to tell us where the funding from, and then to make sure that all these challenges are gradually eradicated from the system as the years persist. Thank you.
My honorable lady at the back.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. One day, we went for a HOSA expedition, and on my way, I met a young lady. I asked her which school she would love to go, and she said Manguase. And her reason was that was the secondary school every young girl in the area would like to go, but she can't attend because of lack of resources. And I asked her when she likes to be in a school like Avery Girls or Wesley Girls, and she said she has never heard of such schools. So my problem is that most well-to-do girls like to go to Wesley Girls and Gay and the A schools in our areas, but that schools are rather benefiting from this free education. But schools in the rural areas should rather be given this opportunity because they are rather going through problems of paying of the fees and other things. And uniformity. In my school now, because of the free education, there's no uniformity anymore because we can't order from the school stores. So different types of uniforms are worn in the school. So I think it should be limited. It shouldn't cover everything so that we can still sustain some things in the school. Thank you.
So, Honorable, if I got you right, your position is the free senior high school should discriminate on which schools benefit and not on the blanket, where every school is a beneficiary. And you're also saying that there's no uniformity in the uniforms which are being given out. Is that correct?
Not in the uniforms being given out. You can't order from the school stores, like the cardigans. So you bring some from home, and they are of different colors.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Tiba.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker at the House. I think this is my 20th time of standing. Thank you for the opportunity. First of all, free SHS, yes, it's good. But I would like to talk about one thing here. Basically, in my constituency, when this free SHS, everything started up, I put it on myself to pay a visit to few SHS schools in my constituency. And the problems are there. I'll withhold their names due to, for the benefit of the doubt, yeah. Because according to one headmistress, she told me that even government is saying they've paid the first year an amount into every SHS account. As at now, theirs is not in. And they cannot say anything about it, because if you want to talk about it, they will either sack you out. You will lose your position. Now, moreover, we all know that capital or funding is capital.
Honorable Nazir, is it? Yes.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, this is a house of records. And for the records, we all know that at least 20% of the total funds all the schools require were paid into their accounts. So if any school or if the honorable member has information to the contrary, he should let us know. Because we know on the ground that at least 20% of the monies were paid to them, so that the remaining 80% will be paid to them upon returns of their receipts. So if the honorable member has any information to the contrary, he should state the facts, not the mere fact that a headmistress told him. We are not taking that in this house.
Honorable Tiba, do you have any reference to the submission you made?
Yeah, I can reference, but I would still like to keep it. Yeah.
So your submission or your information is based on a one-on-one interaction?
Yes, please.
Okay.
So you
That is valid.
Forward. Yeah,
Okay.
let
That
me
is
just
valid.
move forward. One problem that this free SHS is causing all over is funding, the main source of funding. I mean, as of now, we don't know. I call it free Form 1 scholarship because SHS involve Form 1, Form 2, and Form 3. And still, the Form 2s and 3s are still paying fees. So why will you come and tell me that it's free SHS as if all the Form 1, 2, 3s are free? No, it's free scholarship. But the funding is what we are talking about here. And moreover, too, we should not just tackle the funding where we expect government at the beginning of every academic year, the government should pay this amount. I think there should be a secretariat.
Honorable, I think we'll go into the solutions. I want us to touch on the challenges, the problems that the free senior high school is facing. And I think you've done a good job with the feedback you gave us from the headmistress from that school. Thank you very much. Honorable Sid?
Thank you, right?
No, I meant, yes.
Mr. Speaker, the House, thanks. Okay, thanks for the opportunity. Before the free SHS was rolled out, certain problems were identified facing secondary school in education in general in Ghana. Mr. Speaker, quoting from a presentation from the Honorable Minister for Education, Honorable Dr. Matopoku Prempeh, justifying why the government decided to roll out the free SHS. They made mention of about 4 problems that used to face the secondary school education system. And I quote, 1 was limited infrastructure. 2, limited...
Remember, let me remind you of the standing orders from the House. Whenever you want to read from online or from your notes, you seek permission from the chair.
Okay, sir. Sorry, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I ask your permission to read from...
Please proceed.
Okay. The constraint to secondary education. The delivery of secondary education is characterized by the following constraints. 1, limited infrastructure. 2, limited teaching and learning materials. 3, inadequate government funding. 4, inequitable access to secondary education. Mr. Speaker, if the government realized that one problem was inadequate government funding, even when students were paying school fees, the subsidy the government was supposed to pay was delaying, and now it is being made free. The question we have to ask ourselves from this piece is that where is the money coming from? Secondly, Mr. Speaker, it was stated in the last budget read by the Honorable Minister for Finance that over about 200 million cedis or so is being apportioned to...
Honorable Jerick, you have a point of order or an information.
Thank you, Right Honorable. Please, when the Honorable Member was giving us the reference or the background, didn't give us a specific reference, whether CTFM or whether TV3 or whether GTV.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
I made mention, I'm reading a presentation made by the Honorable Dr. Matopoku Prempeh, the Minister for Education.
What presentation?
It's a GES policy justification for free SHS. Please, it's a documented piece.
Is it online or where did you obtain that information?
I picked it from, online, please.
Which link? Can we have some order, please?
Mr. Speaker, I took it from Ghana.
I took it from GhanaPlay.com. GS implementation of free SHS document. And Mr. Speaker, this document tried to compare statement from the previous government to statement from the current government before justifying. And these problems was acknowledged from this, or by this policy document from the previous system of secondary education. And I wanted to ask, or to put across that since it was being noticed that inadequate government funding was much of a problem, even when students were paying, and now it is going to be made free, where is the source coming from? It's one question. And two, in the recent budget reading, money was allocated to free SHS, and I ask, where is the money coming from? Yes, there was a banter on Honorable Yawasafumafu's comment. The Heritage Fund, I learned, is supposed to be a backup fund for the government in case Ghana goes into bankruptcy. In case Ghana goes into bankruptcy. So should we have it in mind that because we have a reserve, we should use it in this time, since we are not yet at the level of bankruptcy? Mr. Speaker, the question of the over 200 million cedis in the budget for free SHS is questionable, please. Thank you.
Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much. Speaking to the question being asked, we are talking about problems. This free SHS, which has come into being, is one key problem as a result of the numerous students being accepted on board. Last week, for instance,
Kind of sabotaging the free senior high school policy is receiving from citizens is one of the key problems. Because every new policy will have its own problems. And we have to take it one after the other. So are we saying that because we don't have enough facilities in the senior high schools, there shouldn't be free senior high school education for our citizens or our students? Is that what we are saying? The government has done its best to give us free senior high school education. So what we have to do is to help the government in solving these problems. Mr. Speaker, I remember when we were back in senior high school. That time we were paying, but some of us sleep outside. Even when you go to tertiary institutions, students have lectures outside. Some even stand behind doors. H1N1. My Honorable, I'm sorry to say that. We are having, when we come back to our various homes and communities, we have overcrowding issues over there. And did we have H1N1 virus? We can't say it because of the overcrowding in senior high schools. We've had an issue of overcrowding way back. So
Honorable, one moment. Honorable Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, my honorable friend is trying to mislead this House by saying that every new policy to be implemented or implemented has challenges. Mr. Speaker, we all know very well the consequences of...
Honorable, sorry, I missed you there. What is your point of coming in? Is it an order or information? Because you have the floor.
It's an order.
Okay.
So we all know that every new policy that is to be implemented, as he is saying, has challenges. And I disagree with him. Mr. Speaker, for example, if you are bringing up a child...
Honorable, disagreeing with him is not a point of order.
Okay. My point of order is, what honorable member is saying is not on the platform. It can't be in the records of this August House.
I think it is a matter of opinion.
Mr. Speaker, with due respect, a matter of opinion, records are records. And if it is a matter of opinion, I therefore suggest that he should withdraw so that we'll move ahead.
Yeah, Deputy Majority,
Yes.
you have the
Mr.
floor.
Speaker, I think whenever we have to get this clear, very clear as parliamentarians, whenever someone is talking like he was flowing and you interrupt without any valid point of order, you distract his attention. I hope you get it. What you are saying is your opinion. Opinion are like gnosis. Everyone has different one. I hope you get it. So you can't dispute his opinion with your opinion, unless, of course, you have a fact to buttress what you are saying. So next time when someone is in the process of flowing, we don't interrupt when we don't have any valid point of order. Thank you very much.
I think I will not encourage a banter. Honorable, continue.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I will still say that every new policy has challenges. Even new couples have little problems. Mr. Speaker, we all know this. It is very real. If you are saying you disagree with the entire thing I'm talking about, that is fine. But every new policy, every new something has challenge. So, Mr. Speaker, the reason why I'm saying this and what I want to say is that we should limit the sabotage. It is becoming too much, and it looks as if we are not more interested in the senior high school, the free senior high school that the government has introduced. Mr. Speaker,
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Before we take another submission, I would like to remind the House, those that traveled on the bus from Accra Mall with Honorable Martinson, I suggest that it is in order that you join that bus back patiently. Let's not rush. I know we all have things to do. Let's join them back. No division of trips. I want the House or the members who traveled join the same bus back so we can account for our numbers. The House will be responsible for your safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would like to touch on 3 key problems that is facing the...
Very briefly.
Very briefly. But then I would like to say that in as much as there's always challenges with one particular policy or the other, whenever the cons is more than the pros, we don't think it is very justified for any government to undertake such an initiative. First of all, I'd like to talk about how the congestion is very terrible and how it is very detrimental to even our education. You realize that when the National Health Insurance Scheme was put in place and it was working, we had instances where patients or people in labor had to lie on the floor just to receive medical attention, which is very, very bad, even for their condition. You realize that the government did not plan on giving these people infrastructure, yet he has pushed a lot of people into these schools, which is making them not very comfortable in these schools. The moment you don't give them infrastructure, yet you push a lot of people into these schools, you give the school a lot of pressure, and you're still telling them not to take charges from parents or whatever. It means that these schools are going to be burdened, and then you're going to burden education as well. Second thing I would like to talk about is how it is reducing education in itself. In as much as we all want to promote education, this thing is in the detriment of the whole education stuff that we talk about. We have an instance where in Denmark, the reason why they are progressing as a country is because of the student-to-teacher ratio in these particular areas. The moment you put a lot of students into these schools, into these classrooms, it means that students are not able to concentrate well. Just like he was saying, we have instances where there are students standing behind lecture halls and whatnot, taking lectures, and we realize that that concentration is not even there. This policy has not worked in Kenya. It can't work in Ghana because we are on the same pedestal and our economy is not ready to implement such a policy. Last thing I would like to talk about is how parental guide is not really it's not really there when we come to this policy. Realize that anything that you spend money on, you are ever ready to hold people accountable and hold yourself accountable on these kind of policies. The moment you take parents out of these things, it means that even if their wards are not performing, they can't directly go and ask people, the school staff, about how their wards are faring, because at the end of the day, they can just tell them that, well, we've not been able to provide them with books. And that is very wrong. The government should review this policy, and it should have a formidable backing in order to bring it back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I must say that it's very difficult in catching your eye. I don't know whether the norm still stands. Mr. Speaker, with the issue about the free senior high school education and the sustainability problems and all that, Mr. Speaker, from the Ghana Education Service website, we have quite a number of statistics over there. On that same website, we have the percentages of the school dropouts for the past years. In 2013, for instance, we had 26% dropout. In 2014, we had 29%. In 2015, we had 28%. In 2016, we had 27% school dropout. And in 2017, we had 99.2% enrollment. What policy or what intervention would a government who thinks about the citizens of Ghana will implement such that all the students in that, all the students who should have access to go to school will get all this platform for? So the government of Ghana has done a good job in ensuring that the majority of students have access to education. And from the budget, the Minister of Finance also gave a government policy, which is the Secondary Education Improvement Program, that it is a way of curbing the congestion in classroom, building on infrastructure, and also repairing on some of these problems that are already facing, but because of challenges and because it has been hidden, all these things were not coming out. So these are government policies that are ensuring that all these things are put in place and ensuring that we could have accessible, equitable secondary education for all citizens in the country. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable House, I'll have to excuse the House for a few minutes. Deputy will take over. Thank you.
Resume our seat, please. Okay, I want you to continue the submissions. Okay.
I thank you for the opportunity. If you still recognize me on the floor, I think
yes,
I'll have,
I think before Speaker walked out, Honorable Martin was speaking.
Yes,
so I want him to continue.
Thank you
very much.
Honorable Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity. I think it's easy to catch your eye because with this, in fact, as a physicist, I know the Coulomb's law is working. I will, at this point, yield the floor to my honorable member sitting to my right so that you could...
Yeah. I think that is for me to decide. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So the motion is that free SHS with no clear source of funding is not sustainable. I think and feel that we are, to a large extent, deviating from the main topic. No clear source of funding is honorable in African Print.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, the House. I'm really grateful to get this platform to share my view upon the sustainability of this free SH policy. before we are to talk about this free SHS, the essence of education in every nation is very key to its development. So we can't omit the purposes of education in our national development. So moving forward, the free SHS is an applaudable policy that needs to be commended. But we can't forsake its challenges. Just recently, due to this motion about the government not being clear on its source of funding, the continuing students are now agitating that their school fees that they are paying are the money that the government is using to fund the first-year students. So if this issue is on board and the government is not open enough to tell...
Point of information.
Point of correction, Madam
Correction,
Speaker.
sorry.
Madam Speaker, if you can say somebody is agitating, that is hearsay. This is a house of record, and then hearsay does not work here. I heard somebody saying, I spoke with somebody, and he said, without evidence.
Okay. Honorable, can you give us any reference?
I can give reference to Sims College at Faude, Kumasi over here. Some continuous students organized some demonstration on the fact that they believe that their school fees that they are paying is what the government is using.
So it's an opinion of a group of students?
Yes, yes. And then it needs an hearing to the extent that it has started from a point, and for all we know, it is on a larger extent. So I suggest that the government should come out openly to let all the public domain to know that this is our source of funding, so that we'll be clear that this is where our money is coming from. So should in case even there is a change in government who will decide to change this free SH policy with the basis that we don't have money to fund it, we can draw their minds on the fact that the previous government made it clear to us that this is the account that the money is coming from. So you can continue with it because the account is still in existence. So it is more appropriate for the government to come out to tell us the account or where they are getting the money to sustain this free SHS policy.
Okay. Shall we rise?